Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am creating a slimline card using the Slim Card Basics from Mama Elephant. So first of all, I'm showing you what I'm using, being family time, and then of course the Slim Card Basics. In the end I will also use the Wish Upon a Star for some of those dies, but that you will see later on in this video. So first of all, I have taken a piece of Strathmore Bristol Smooth and I'm stamping out these cute bunnies on top of it using antique linen distress inks. So I'm going to color with my distress inks. This is actually what I did in the real beginning of my card making because I didn't have any markers or zigs or anything like that. So if you're starting with card making, it's always handy if you have some of those inks. You can put them on a piece of plastic or an acrylic block as I'm doing here, and then you can just lift up that color and color in your images. I must admit I never did Noline coloring in the beginning. But in the end, if you are used to coloring in your images with lines, you can also do Noline coloring. Just give it a go and you will see it looks much harder than it actually is. Not that I'm an expert, but I like doing it. It's in a way that I prefer doing it, of course. I'm also not a watercoloring expert, so I'm just going with it, adding colors where I'm thinking that I need to add some. But as you can see here, I am first putting a really light layer on top of these images, and then I will keep adding colors and colors. Also, something that can be handy, I am doing it later in this coloring part, is that the distress inks can be reactivated by water. So if you add water on spaces that you think are too dark, you can actually lift up a bit of those colors and soften it a bit more. In the end of this big bunny, I will do that because the face of my bunny became a bit too dark in my opinion. So I just added some water, dabbed it off with a paper cloth, and then I could continue. So I am using different browns, distress inks. I'm showing them really quickly from time to time, but just so you know, I'm using Walnut Stain, Vintage Photo, Brushed Corduroy, Antique Linen of course. And then for the ears, I first thought of using spun sugar, but in the end I first thought of using Tattered rose, but that didn't show up that much, so I used Victorian velvet instead. So for the rest of the coloring, I will be putting on some music and I will be back afterwards. now that my image is colored in, I can continue with my background. So therefore I took this scalloped piece from the Slim Card Basics, and I am going to ink blend a bit on here. Therefore I am using aged mahogany and Victorian velvet. So on the bottom I am putting aged mahogany, and I am trying to soften it more and more, going towards the top, and then I will come in from the top using the Victorian velvet. So to make this background a bit more special, I am of course splattering a bit on top of this. I'm using the same distress inks as well as some liquid glue, and of course I'm also using my Winsor & Newton Designer Gouache Permanent White. Onto my cloud, I decided to use the same antique linen distress ink to blend all around, and not going towards the middle completely, just giving it a soft blend on the edges. As you can see, to create this one, I first die cut a scalloped rectangle, and then I used that cloud edge that is in the same Slim Card Basics, and I just die cut a cloudy border from it. Now I am going to die cut also this text balloon, and I am also going to add some antique linen on the edges of this one. So for the sentiment, I am taking one from the Family Time, saying the best part of me is you, and I'm going to stamp it out with Gina K Design Amalgam ink. Just to make sure that I can stamp it multiple times if necessary, I am using my Misty. And then I can assemble my card. So for this card I am using the big MOMMA foam tape from Simon Says Stamp. It's a really big roll with thin foam tape actually, and I really like the thickness of it. It's quite difficult to get the backings off, but I don't mind fiddling with this when I get that result. So I'm spinning this through and you can see me fiddle a lot. If any one of you has a suggestion to make it a bit easier to peel it off, you please leave it below. I would really appreciate that. Now I am going to die cut my bunnies and add it as well. I'm using some purple tape to keep my die in place while running it through my die cutting machine, and then I will use a combination of liquid glue as well as the same foam tape because I want the height to be the same. Like that, adding that text balloon as well, or the speech bubble. Using some more of that foam tape, And then I realized that I needed to add something more to this background. And because with the sky and the dreamy feel I get from this card, I decided to look for some stars. And I didn't want to stamp anything out, so I really went looking for some dies that were like a rounded star, and I found two of those in the Wish Upon a Star from Fawn. So these two dies I am using, and I'm die cutting it from some Strathmore Bristol Smooth as well, just the same paper that was left over from my bunnies. And I die cut a few, you can see them lying on the cards. And then I decided that I wanted to give it some color as well, so I blended some more antique linen on top of it. And then I adhered each star using some liquid glue. And then I just had to add this card on top of a card base. And then this one is finished. So I really hope that you like this card design and the way I colored in my bunnies. I have another card planned to make and to show you in the future. I don't know when yet, with some same techniques for the ones who like this one. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can always leave them down below. I will answer them as quick as possible. I'm so grateful for you all to stop by, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!